All right, week 15 speed training work. We're going to begin on the ladder here. Remember, continuing the theme of agility on the ladder. Now, the ladder setup I have right here is 5 yards. You may want to use 10 yards here because there's only one exit involved here. And there you could stretch out to 10 yards and have 2 exits. In this case right here, we're going to use 3 patterns: the crossover, the cross center, and the skier, all with an agility mindset where we really change direction, working hard east to west. In this case right here, he's going to demonstrate a linear crossover with agility to a lateral shuffle to his right. He'll shuffle out hard, there's to his left, back in, he'll resume his cross, remember agility, change direction, and he'll exit, sprint out. Now you've done this with quickness patterns. Again, recognize the difference there, really working for more agility and change direction. Do that for a handful of sets, then we'd execute the cross under with agility with a shuffle exit. In this case, again, we're just showing shuffling to one side and back in, changing hard, and sprinting out. And the last pattern here will be the skier. That's a new pattern here. It is a 2-foot pattern. You really want to work here with the feet getting outside the hips here, as it's 2 feet in, 2 feet out, 2 feet in, 2 feet out, changing direction. Notice the feet outside the hips, we change hard, shuffle out, shuffle back in, change hard, and then we sprint exit out of there. So that's your ladder work for the day using the agility component. Your speed training for the day, we're going to go to what we call the box drills, and you can set up for either 5x5 or a 10x10 box. I prefer the 5x5 because it really emphasizes more the quick burst and the quick change direction. I think you see more in baseball here. Now what we're going to do, 5x5 box, the pattern I'm going to give him, and this is just an example, basically use your creativity here. I'm going to move him to the outside of that cone on the right, and he's going to, just for an example pattern, he's going to sprint 5 yards, touch, shuffle 5 yards, touch, and open his hips up and sprint diagonally through that cone. So we'd sprint, touch, open, and sprint through. Now I'd flip that over the other side. Again, use your creativity there. I would suggest only using maybe 3 segments for each pattern. In this case right here, it's a sprint, it's a shuffle, it's a sprint. I mean, you can use back pedals, shuffles, sprints, diagonal sprints. All those in the 5x5 setup are probably going to be performed between 4 to 6 seconds, depending on the quality of your athlete. But again, those are quick hitters. They should be intense. You want to allow them to recover there to make sure that you get the best work done in terms of your speed and agility. The next drill in the speed training is a sprint to a reaction 90-degree cut. Now for that, we'll walk up the turf here. Now typically I'd like about a 15-yard or so build-up sprint. I'll put him at midfield, and I'll be the coach right here. Now what he would do here is he would sprint hard for about 10 to 15 yards, but as hard as he can. And for the first 10 to 15 yards, his head's down, his chin's tucked, and he's going to sprint as hard as he can. And then there's about a 10-yard zone where he knows he's got to get his head up, continue sprinting, but react to my hand while he's going to cut to his left or his right. Now this makes them very uncomfortable, and you'll see a lot of them coast into you. You want to make sure they're sprinting as hard as they can as they come into this and get uncomfortable. It's almost like you got to fail a couple times here before you really get the benefit of it. Now there's 3 movements we'll use off this. We'll use a shuffle, a karaoke, or a sprint off. In this case right here, I'm going to have him just go about 75%. This will be a reaction to his right on this shuffle. So again, he would accelerate, and he'd find me, and he'd brake, and he'd shuffle hard out. Again, we're trying to do the best we can to achieve that 90-degree cut right there. Again, they should be very uncomfortable here. Again, they're reacting off the fly there. The key is to get the foot outside their hips, to brake. This is a lot like a lunge pattern here, where you got to chop the feet and break down and decelerate to make the hard cut out. Now right here, just for another example, I'll have him do the same thing, except this time will be a karaoke cut out of the sprint. So I'd start him here on the sprint. He'd accelerate, he'd find me, there's a breakout, and he'd karaoke out of there. And the last option you have, in this case right here, I just have him reacting to his right each time, but I would usually mix this up. Last time right here, he would sprint and then react, and this would be a cut and a sprint out of there. Again, trying to make that as sharp of a cut as you can right there. It doesn't take many reps there, and again, the key is to make sure your guys sprint as hard as they can and they don't break, or if they have to run you over, have them run you over, but they don't want to break too early and start coasting into the stop. Your conditioner that you'll finish with in this week are the 30s, again following the chart. Following the chart with the prescribed recovery times there, also the times that are suggested that they should be finishing the 30s in.